Hello and welcome to the Business Automation 2.0 presentation. My name is Alex and today we'll be talking about what is business automation, how do we deal with so much paperwork that basically every business is drowning in, and how do we get to the complete cycle of business automation. As you can see from this image, every business without exception must handle its operation by handling paperwork, which means all the events that occur within the regular business operations need to be recorded. These events become facts and they need to be logged, somewhere stored and managed. So there's no exception that some business could operate without dealing with paperwork. And as we mentioned, the paperwork can be overwhelming and the businesses need help in terms of trying to use utilities and facilities that will automate this paperwork, that will lower the cost, minimize or eliminate errors, and make the business more scalable. Because if business is trying to deal with mounting paperwork by hiring more staff, that definitely is not scalable, it's costly and error prone. Not also do businesses deal with paperwork, they also deal with so-called workflow. And workflow, as this very simplified diagram illustrates, is based on the flow of documentation through the business operations. For example, in this case, if the sales has been closed and the sales contract now needs to be processed, it goes to the management approval, the legal approval, etc., then goes back to the customer for signature, the company's signature, and whatnot. This flow of the documentation through the system is called workflow for short. So when we talk about automating things such as paperwork, how do we do it? Typically, in today's modern business world, we use computers and software and networks to create digital forms which are automated, which customers fill out. Then once these forms are being sent to the business and received, they are processed by doing automatic data extraction, etc. The paper workflow, on the other hand, can be automated using software. In this diagram, we are looking at a very messy and confusing situation on the left-hand side, which the manual routing of the documents can be very confusing, time-consuming, while if we automate that using a platform such as SharePoint, we could streamline, simplify, and demystify the workflow. Also, we can model the workflow by deciding on the process that we need to automate. Then we build digital forms, design the actual workflow with all the decision points, set the permissions, and then we can go live. Therefore, this is a very simplified picture, but it is very desirable to be able to automate the workflow for the same reasons as the paperwork, because human workforce is not very scalable. It is prone to making errors and mistakes, and well-crafted software application is much more reliable. So, given this overview, we could maybe conclude that the problem of paperwork and business operations have been solved by utilizing various sophisticated packages and software products. But as Albert Einstein said, it is not that I'm so smart, just that I stay with problems longer. So if we dwell a little bit more on the problem of automating business operations, we will see that this is not the entire picture. So we can ask ourselves, so what is left unsolved? What is it that is still out there that businesses do day in, day out during their regular operations, and these activities have not been automated yet? And the answer is, of course, business conversation. This would be the final frontier, the activity that every business engages in and still hasn't been really automated the way paperwork and workflow has been automated. So business conversation is good for efficiency, that businesses would always make time for conversing with their customers, comply with the regulations, and spot the upsell, cross-sell opportunities, and build a relationship with their customers. So the question now is, why should we automate that? Because traditionally, we are dealing with it using human workforce. And of course, with conversations, and the more the merrier, we keep our customers closer and our businesses are more reliable and successful overall. Now, let's first look at how do businesses traditionally converse with their customers. One part of the conversation with customers is what we call written communication, which is mostly writing, letters and memos, sending notices to the customers, either using electronic or regular mail. Another one is email, where customers can be notified and the memos can be sent, newsletters, etc. Of course, the currently very popular model is texting via various chat channels and platforms. On the other hand, there is also oral communication, which is basically customer representatives speaking with customers and clients on the phone or in person. And given all that written and oral communication, the question is, how can we automate business conversations? Basically, there are 4 ways to do it, and I will list them one by one. The first way would be to actually hire a third-party chatbot agency, so-called chatbot agency, which specializes in building software that can process customer messages, paragraphs, and documents, and will then be able to provide a reply in a similar written format using natural language or even voice activated, which basically gets transformed into written text. The second way to do it is to use so-called chatbot building platforms, for example, Google's Dialogflow, where you go in and you register, and then you can build from ground up all kinds of different chatbots and design your dialogues, your conversational patterns, etc. The third way would be to actually master natural language processing and machine learning. And once gaining those skills, we could build our own chatbot from ground up, which would be the most sophisticated way of doing it. But it's also very challenging because it is not an easy task to master those skills. And the fourth way is the so-called DIY or do-it-yourself approach using a platform such as Digital Expert. So of these 4, probably the fourth and the second one could look confusing, and people may ask, so what is the difference between using chatbot building platforms such as Google Dialogflow and Digital Expert's DIY platform? They kind of look the same or similar. And the main difference here is that when we are using Google Dialogflow or WIT or some other chatbot building platforms, we're still required to have some skills in terms of being able to formally analyze the problem and to kind of do a little bit of software development, not necessarily writing source code, but being able to break the problem down into constituent components and somehow stitch them together, which is not necessarily what many businesses do possess in their regular operations. And with the fourth option, with DIY on Digital Expert, the advantage is that we remove that need for having any formal training or any inclination towards formal analysis. And this approach will be similar to, for example, how businesses use spreadsheets, such as Microsoft Excel, to automate their own processes without having to do any actual computer programming or have any skill in developing software. So with Digital Expert, all that's needed is, the ability to actually break your business down into several situations and intents, and then train your Digital Expert bot how to recognize the intent from the user's messages and then how to reply to those messages. So with customer conversation automation, we are entering the business automation 2.0 phase. And this basically creates a full circle, or gets us to the point where the entire business operation is now potentially fully automated, and businesses could benefit from lowering the cost and increasing the reliability of their services. This is it for today's presentation. Please send any questions or inquiries to thedigitalexpert@gmail.com, and I hope I'll see you soon in our next video tutorial. Until then, bye.